Hello there, video viewers. I hope you're doing well today. So here's a video from me to you, and in this one I would just like to tell you a story, because stories are great for learning English. And so I've been looking for different short stories that I could read to you, and what I just did today is I just Googled free short stories online, something like that, and a few links came up, and I ended up on this website which is called Comaful. I don't know if you're aware of Comaful. Let's have a quick look at it. So it's described as the largest library of multimedia stories, comaful.com. And on Comaful, you can read and share fan fiction. This is like stories written by fans, not necessarily published authors. Stories, poetry, and comics in our unique picture book format. So essentially what they've done on Comaful is they've found a way of presenting stories rather than presenting all of the text, which is the way you would read it in a book, right, normally. That's fine in a book, but for some reason reading stories on a computer screen is less pleasant. And so what they've done here on Comaful is they actually break up the stories line by line, and each line in the story has a little picture and the text of that line, and then you just flick through each line. You'll see what I mean in a second, but it's quite good because it's, you know, breaks the stories up sentence by sentence. And I kind of think for learning English and for practicing speaking skills, presentation skills, this is quite good, because I think it's a good habit to try to use pausing and to break up your statements and to pause between each sentence. This, I think, is a good presentation skill. Let's see. So the story that I've chosen from comaful.com is called The Mountain. It's by Aknier. That's the name of the user who came up with this. I think Aknier wrote it themselves. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, so I'm saying themselves. Aknier wrote it, and so I'm going to read it to you. Now, I'm going to read the story twice. The first time I read it, I will just read it without pausing. I'll just read it through naturally without stopping to explain things, I mean. So you can just follow the story. I hope you enjoy it, try and understand it, even if there are some words and bits that you don't understand. Then the second time I read the story, I'll break it down a bit more and I'll explain a few things and maybe give some comments to help you understand it. But first and foremost, just try and follow the story, okay? What else? Another thing, what you could do is, if you like, you could repeat after me. I do recommend that you do that. I mean, obviously, you just enjoy the story first of all, but you could, if you like, pause after each line. So pause the video and just repeat after me and try and copy exactly the way I'm saying it. That could be good practice for you. Also, you'll find the link to this story in the description of this video, and you will then be able to, click the link and visit the story yourself. And in your own time, you could practice saying the lines of the story too. You've got my version to compare it to. You could record yourself doing it and then see, compare your version to my version and see if there are any differences and then work on those things. Okay, so there's lots of stuff you can do. But now let's begin the story. This one is called The Mountain. Actually, just before we start, I would say this story actually, it's not about a mountain. It's not about mountain climbing. I think the mountain is a metaphor which comes up in the story. But just to get you thinking, think about your childhood. What kind of child were you? I mean, what was it like for your parents to bring you up? Were you a cooperative child? Did you try to do everything your parents wanted? Did you listen to them? Did you try to make them happy all the time? Were you sort of cooperative, well-behaved child? Or were you a child who probably made your parents' lives quite difficult just by doing your own thing, not always listening, and, stressing your parents out and stuff like that? Because having kids can be quite challenging, of course, because you want your children to listen to you, you want them to cooperate. It can be quite stressful, especially if there are lots of children in the family. It's a lot for the parents to manage. to keep everything under control. And I guess some kids are easy to control and other kids are less easy to control. The easy to control ones maybe are being cooperative. They're making an effort to make things easy for the parents. But anyway, I wonder what kind of child you were. Maybe a combination of the two. I'm just saying that just to make you think about this story a little bit before we start reading. Okay, let's go. Here we go. So, the mountain. My mother said that out of all 5 of her children, I was the easiest baby. I think what she meant was that I hardly cried, rarely fussed, and was generally asleep, which I guess was a good thing for her. As the 4th of 5, she had a lot to deal with before she could get to me. So I made it easier for her. I kept doing it as I grew up. If one of my siblings dropped their ice cream, I'd give them mine so they'd stop making a scene. When someone had to sit in a middle seat, you can bet that's where my car seat would be strapped. In 5th grade, when Clara Gomez stole my cookie from my lunchbox, I just shrugged and ate my carrot sticks. My nickname was Montañita, Little Mountain, because I was never moved, never bothered, always calm. In 7th grade, I broke my leg. But I didn't tell anyone for 3 days. I just gritted my teeth and hopped along. Until my father found me crying on the bathroom floor. He took me to the hospital and bought me a cast we couldn't afford. And when the kids at school called me a cripple, well, you can guess what I did. In high school, my little sister Sophia was getting picked on by some boys. I pretended I didn't see it happen, but that night I switched out her too small uniform skirt for mine. She stopped getting teased, and I wore pants for the rest of the year. When my college algebra professor lost my test and made me retake it, I just nodded and did it. When I got catcalled walking across campus, I just looked down at the ground. And you? The first day you came up to me and offered to buy me coffee, I was sure you were making fun of me too. So I stayed quiet. Eventually you flashed me that blinding smile and told me, "Guess I'll take that as a yes then." I think I said about 3 words to you that first day. But I gave you my number. And answered when you called. At first, I think, you just thought I was shy. But as the months went on and things got more serious, you started to get upset when I didn't tell you things. When I got fired from my part-time job and started skipping lunch to afford my textbooks, I didn't want to tell you because I knew it would upset you. I was right, wasn't I? You were so mad when you figured it out. "Here," you yelled, shoving money at me. "Take it. I don't need it. You know I have a scholarship. You know my parents send me money. Take the goddamn money." I just stood there. I'd never had someone yell at me while doing something nice before. When you noticed how stunned I was, you softened your voice. Please, it hurts me to see you starving yourself. Please, take the money. For the first time ever, I talked back. Why? You laughed at me. Because I love you, you idiot. I took the money, but snuck most of it back into your wallet that night when you were asleep. For most of the time we dated, we never fought. Even when one of your friends tried to tell me you cheated on me. I knew you hadn't. The friend was just a jerk. When he tried to tell me, I just stared at him. Didn't cry or yell or demand proof. That freaked the friend out a bit. He kept trying to convince me, but I stayed so calm, he eventually gave up and admitted the truth. Later you told me you couldn't believe how amazing I was to trust you so much. The truth was, I had no idea if it was the truth or not. I just didn't react because I knew if I did, it wouldn't change the outcome. And I'd learned that staying calm in situations like that gave me the power. Our marriage, too, had very few fights. If you didn't take out the trash like you said you would, I did it. And when you noticed I'd done your chores, you felt so bad that you'd do some of mine to make it up. When our children misbehaved, I never raised my voice or screamed or made a scene. I just asked them what they did. And eventually, they'd cave. Our oldest told me once it'd be much less scary if I'd just shout at them like Dad did. I figured I'd stay like I was. Calm, quiet, a peacemaker, non-reactive. For the rest of my life. But you changed that. You jerk. When you died. When you died, it was like that frozen mountain of emotional outbursts inside me melted all at once. Nobody expected it when I started screaming and sobbing at the funeral. My older brother tried to take me outside, and I punched him in the jaw. I apologized later, of course. You'd hardly recognize me now, I think. It's a lot harder for me to stare blankly now and take things. Because I keep remembering you saying, "Stand up for yourself. You deserve better, mi amor." And you're not here anymore to stand up for me. Or our kids. I don't know how to describe it exactly. What changed the moment you left this earth? But it's like I was blue one moment and red the next. Hard as ice before I melted into a hurricane. I was a mess for a year or two, I think, before I managed to get everything under control again. But even now, I'm not like I was. I'm still calm and rational and think before I speak. But if anything or anyone threatens our children or their happiness, I know I have to be the one to protect them. And as anyone who's gone mountain climbing knows, the serene snow-covered peaks that look so tranquil from a distance are the deadliest. Okay, that's the end of the story. All right, did you like that? Let me go back to the very beginning of this story now. Okay. And I'm going to try and sort of break it all down. Or maybe I just need to refresh the page. That's probably a quicker way of doing it. Okay, so the mountain. Right, did you get the idea? Basically, it's about a person. I don't know. I feel like the narrator is female. I feel like it's a woman. Could be a man, I suppose. But for some reason, something is telling me it's a woman. I don't know. I don't know why that is. It could be a man, like I said. But anyway, let's say she. And so she grew up as a child to be very well behaved, to be very cooperative, to help her mum, I think. And she had other brothers and sisters who probably took her mum's attention. Her mum was very busy looking after these other kids. And so our narrator decided that she would be helpful and that she would not make a fuss, not make any trouble, not cause any problems, keep herself quiet, keep her emotions under control. And that's how she grew up, and that's how she continued to live. And she met this person, I'm assuming it's a guy, and he somehow managed to kind of open her up, or that they've loved each other. She continued to be under control all the way through their marriage. It sounds like generally a happy, successful life. But then when her husband dies, she loses control. And even though throughout her entire life she's had this emotional reserve or a sort of control over her emotions, losing her husband meant that she lost that, and what was held inside came exploding out. And it manifested itself as unexpected behavior, like she got very emotional and screamed and cried during the funeral, punched her brother, and her life kind of fell apart. But then remembering things that her husband had said allowed her to get back to her original kind of controlled, emotionally stable state. But at the same time, she was still able to access her strong emotions and feelings. Okay. It's not really not a kind of a narrative, but more just an emotional narrative, I think. Interesting story. Obviously curious to know what you think of it. You can leave your comments in the comments section. Now let's go through the story line by line to kind of look at the language a little bit. And I think this is American English. There are a couple of moments where you can tell it's American English. So obviously I speak British English, so I will be pointing out any differences. For the most part, American English and British English are, the vast majority of the two versions of the language, it's the same, pretty much. A few little differences, which I'll point out. Okay, all right, so here we go, the mountain then. My mother said that out of all 5 of her children, she had 5 children, out of all 5 of them, I was the easiest baby. Okay, fine. I think what she meant was that I hardly cried. This is interesting to note. I hardly cried. Now, to cry hard and to hardly cry. To work hard and to hardly work. Hardly, as an adverb, before a verb, is a minimizing adverb. It doesn't mean to do it strongly. It's quite the opposite. So hard, we know, like hard to, to fall hard, to do something hard. Hard can mean tough or strong or difficult. To run hard, to work hard. Yeah, work hard is like to work very seriously. But to hardly work, so hardly means almost none. Okay, hardly means almost none. So hardly work, you've hardly done any work today means you've done almost no work. Okay, whereas you've worked very hard today means you've done a lot of work. Similarly, what she meant was I hardly cried means I almost never cried. Doesn't mean I cried hard, which would be like crying really hard, loudly, but I hardly cried. I didn't cry very much. I rarely fussed. To fuss or to make a fuss. Fuss would be sort of problems, complaining a lot, maybe crying, right? So if you make a fuss, like, okay, an example, so I've got a daughter, she's 3 years old, and sometimes she makes a fuss. For example, if we want her to do something that she doesn't want to do, she might make a fuss. She might start crying. She might even sort of have a tantrum, roll on the floor and cry, or put her head in the pillow or something like that, or argue or get angry, making a fuss. Okay, or to fuss. So sometimes she fusses, like, for example, if it's time to go out but she's not ready to go out because she wants to play with her toys, she will start crying or something like that. 3-year-old children, that's what they do. So I think she meant I hardly cried, rarely fussed, meaning I hardly ever made a fuss, and was generally asleep most of the time, which I guess was a good thing for her. I guess it's kind of American English, although lots of British people say this now. I guess, you see, I'm even saying it myself now. I suppose would be, let's say, more of a typically British thing. I suppose this was a good thing. I suppose you're right. I suppose we should do that. I guess you're right. I guess that's a good thing. I guess we should do that. So I guess, blah, 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 in American English, and I suppose, I think, maybe, in British English. They say I suppose and I think in American English too, but we are less likely to say, I guess that was a good thing. In British English, it might be something like, I suppose that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. So I hardly ever cried. I was generally asleep, which I guess was a good thing for her. It made life easier for the mum. As the fourth of 5, she had a lot to deal with before she could get to me. To deal with things. She had a lot of things to manage, lots of things to sort out before she could finally get to me. Like, where it is with children, maybe the kid needs food or a hug or a nappy change or something like that, or whatever, some problem. So the mum had to deal with lots of things before she could get to the daughter. So I made it easier for her. Nice. I kept doing it as I grew up. So not just as a baby, but as she grew up, she kept being cooperative and thoughtful, helpful to her mum. If one of my siblings dropped their ice cream, a sibling is a brother or sister. If one of my siblings dropped their ice cream, see, there, one, there. So we use they and their, these pronouns, when you don't know if the person you're talking about is male or female. Okay, so in this case, if one of my, either if we don't know, if it's not important. So I guess this person's got brothers and sisters, and if one of them, either brother or sister, doesn't matter which, if one of them dropped their ice cream, okay, I'd give them mine, so they would stop making a scene. To make a scene, to make a fuss. Okay, make a scene, it's the sort of thing that, like making a fuss, the sort of thing that would attract attention of people. If you're in the street and your child is making a scene, your child is having a tantrum and crying or something, other people are like, oh dear. And he's like, stop making a scene. So she would give the ice cream. She'd give them her ice cream. What a good girl. When someone had to sit in a middle seat, so in a car, the kids want to be on the window seats, and the middle seat probably is the least popular seat. When someone had to sit in a middle seat, you can bet that's where my car seat would be strapped. So her car seat would be strapped into the middle seat. You can bet, meaning you can be sure, basically. You can put money on it, not literally, it's just an expression, but you can bet means you can be certain, you can be sure that something is true. You can bet that's where my car seat would be strapped. In 5th grade, so here's another American thing, the years in school, they call them grades. 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and so on. In the UK, they tend to be like 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year. So we call them years, and they call them grades in America. In 5th grade, when Clara Gomez, I don't know who Clara Gomez is, probably just some girl at school. When Clara Gomez stole my cookie from my lunchbox, I just shrugged and ate my carrot sticks. To shrug is just like, do that with your shoulders, like lift your shoulders like that, as if to say, well, there's nothing I could do really. Shrug or shrug your shoulders. I just shrugged and ate my carrot sticks. Again, what a good girl. She didn't make a fuss. She didn't cry. She didn't fight. My nickname was Montañita, Little Mountain. Is this Spanish? I think so. And mi amor is in there too, isn't it, in this story? Is that Spanish? I think so. Maybe this is like, you know, in the USA, there's, you know, large Hispanic communities. Maybe the people in this story are sort of like, sort of Latin American. Because I was never moved, never bothered, always calm. The Little Mountain. In 7th grade, I broke my leg. But I didn't tell anyone for 3 days. Like, what? Really? You broke your leg, you didn't tell anyone for 3 days? Oh my goodness. This is really like pushing it to the extreme. This child is incredibly stoic. I just gritted my teeth and hopped along. Really? I mean, I think there's a limit to it. You know, she's a very good girl. She doesn't make a fuss. But I mean, if you break your leg, I mean, you're well within your rights to say to the mum and dad, excuse me, I know my brothers and sisters want their ice cream, but I think I've got a broken leg. Can we go to the hospital? Anyway, she didn't do that. She just gritted her teeth. To grit your teeth is when you you clench your jaw and shut your teeth and grit your teeth. So clench your teeth or put your teeth together like that. If you're experiencing a lot of pain, you would grit your teeth like that. And she hopped along. Hop is when you kind of jump on one leg. You're walking on one leg. Hop, hop, hop. Wow. Until my father found me crying on the bathroom floor. He took me to the hospital and bought me a cast we couldn't afford. A cast is a thing made of plaster. You know, when someone breaks their leg or breaks their arm, you know, if someone's had an accident, they've broken a leg or an arm, they would come back, they'd come out of the hospital with a cast. It's white, it's made of plaster, I guess, or these days they may use another material, but it's hard and it covers the broken arm or leg while the arm or leg heals. It keeps the arm or leg sort of protected and motionless. A cast, okay? He took me to the hospital and bought me a cast we couldn't afford. So even though they didn't really have the money for this cast, he bought it anyway. This is America, of course, where you have to pay for all your health care. And when the kids at school called me a cripple, so a cripple, this is an offensive word. It's not a nice word in English. If the children are calling her a cripple is someone who's got like a physical injury or maybe a physical disability that is probably permanent. Okay, so a cripple. It's really not a nice word. And so the kids were teasing her, calling her a cripple because of her broken leg. So when the kids at school called me a cripple, you can guess what I did. Well, let's guess what she did. She probably shrugged her shoulders and, you know, didn't really react, didn't make a fuss. In high school, my little sister Sophia was getting picked on by some boys. To get picked on, it's the sort of thing that happens to children. They get picked on, they get bullied, they get teased. I think tease is here in this story as well. So to get picked on. So Sophia was getting picked on. So to get picked on means when other children say mean things about you, they say nasty things to you, they make you feel bad, maybe they make fun of you. They might even physically do things like sort of maybe hit you or poke you. Okay, it's when usually older, bigger children do bad things to younger children. because it makes them because it's fun for them. But for the younger child, it's absolutely horrible. It's very common to get picked on at school. So when her little sister was getting picked on by some boys, I pretended I didn't see it happen. I guess this is for Sophia's sake, so Sophia doesn't feel embarrassed. But I mean, all right. Anyway, she pretended she didn't see it happen. For me, if I was getting picked on, I would hope my brother saw it, and so he would step in. But maybe the author, the narrator of this story, is trying to be a lot more stealthy, discreet. And that night, it says, I switched out her too small uniform skirt for mine. So clearly it's this school, they have a uniform. And I guess Sophia was getting picked on because her skirt was too small. And so the narrator switched out her too small uniform skirt for hers. So she swapped. So she took Sophia's uniform skirt at night when no one knew it was happening. She took Sophia's skirt, which was too small, and replaced it with hers, which was probably the right size. So Sophia would look normal, but the narrator couldn't wear her skirt. So she did it when no one was looking, which I guess is sort of super generous. She doesn't expect to receive any praise for it. She just did it secretly. So she stopped getting teased. There's that word, to be teased, to be picked on, to be bullied, or when people make fun of you. And I wore pants for the rest of the year. Here's some more American English. Pants meaning trousers. Okay, so she wore trousers. In the UK, we say trousers. In the USA, they say pants. But in the UK, our pants are what you wear under your trousers. Underwear. Okay, so you put your pants on and then you put your trousers on. Okay, in the UK. Whereas in the USA, your pants are the things you wear on the outside. Trousers, we call them. What do they call pants in America? Underpants? That's another question for another time. Oh, okay, I've got to have to Google it. What do Americans call pants? Okay, this is from Yahoo Answers, if this is a decent... underpants. I'm English and I generally call it underwear. Underwear, shorts, drawers, knickers, underwear, underpants, shorts. Okay, that'll do. All right, next. When my college algebra professor... I don't know why algebra. Maybe algebra has got a capital letter here because it's the name of the subject at the school. Normally, algebra doesn't have a capital A. Anyway, when my college algebra professor... It's in maths, algebra. Lost my test and made me retake it, I just nodded and did it. So the professor actually lost her test. And because he or she lost the test... the narrator had to retake it. Now, this could be a massive problem that you could make a huge fuss about this. You can imagine getting the parents involved. I can't believe that the professor lost the test and there's no way I want my daughter to have to repeat the test again. I think she should be blah, blah, blah. It could be a big problem. But she just nodded and did it. Wow. The patience and tolerance of this person is incredible. When I got catcalled walking across campus, to get catcalled, this is when, let's say a girl is walking across the street or something, men shout things or whistle or something at a woman in the street. All right, darling. And probably worse things. They say sort of sexual things and stuff like that. It's really not nice at all. It's totally horrible, I guess, for women to be catcalled, to get catcalled. When I got catcalled walking across campus, I just looked down at the ground. So she didn't react. And you, the first day you came up to me and offered to buy me coffee, I was sure you were making fun of me too. To make fun of someone, right? She thought that he was teasing her. So I stayed quiet. I guess this is at like university age now. Eventually you flashed me that blinding smile. Flash. So flash, you know, flash like a flash on a camera. A flash of light. And you can flash a smile as well. I can't do it very well. To flash a smile. You sort of, when someone does a very charming looking smile at you and it's like, oh wow, your smile is so blinding. So brilliant and attractive. You flashed me that blinding smile and told me, guess I'll take that as a yes then. It's me attempting to flash someone with a smile. Not doing a very good job. Anyway, guess I'll take that as a yes then. I think I said about 3 words to you that first day. All right. But I gave you my number. What were those 3 words? Here is number. Here is number. This, my number. It was that the 3 words? You call me. I don't know what it was, but anyway. Maybe 4 words. Here is my number. I'm joking. I think I said about 3 words to you that first day, but I gave you my number and answered when you called. So, romance. At first, I think you just thought I was shy. But as the months went on and things got more serious, you started to get upset when I didn't tell you things. Upset in English, you can be upset because you're sad, or you can be upset because you're angry. But it's basically when your emotions get too much and you might cry. So if someone is upset, they might be upset because they're very sad. They might be upset because they're very angry. See, it can be either. You started to get upset when I didn't tell you things. That would be probably angry and maybe hurt. That kind of upset. But basically, emotions become too much and often involves crying or like expressions of anger, or when someone's emotions get too strong, they get upset, right? You started to get upset when I didn't tell you things. When I got fired from my part-time job, so when she lost her job, and started skipping lunch. To skip lunch is when you just don't eat lunch. You have your breakfast, you have your dinner, but skip lunch. In this case, to save money, I started skipping lunch to afford my textbooks. In order to pay for her textbooks she needed for university, she stopped eating lunch to save money. I didn't want to tell you because I knew it would upset you. I was right, wasn't I? You were so mad when you figured it out. So there's some American English here. Mad, angry, we would say in the UK. But in American English, mad, yeah. For us, mad means crazy. But in American English, it means crazy too. But it also means angry. But it doesn't mean angry in British English. So anyway, you were so mad when you figured it out. Also in British English, we don't usually say to figure something out. We say to work something out. Okay, so you were so angry when you worked it out, when you managed to understand what was going on. Here, you yelled, shoving money at me. Again, in British English, we don't really yell, we shout. Okay, so yell in American English, shout probably in British English. Here, you shouted, shoving money at me. So he's kind of like giving her money like that in a fairly sort of aggressive manner, maybe, but being generous. Take it. I don't need it. You know I have a scholarship. So a scholarship is when someone's university education is paid for by someone else, probably because they're good at sport. Often in American colleges, you get a scholarship if you are really good at football or basketball or something like that. If you're really good at sport, maybe the college will pay for you to take your degree because you will be a benefit to them, because there's a whole sort of university sports scene is kind of really important, and colleges like to have really good sports teams. I don't know. I don't know what. I guess there must be some sort of like industry of a lot of sports stars who become professional sports players go through the college system. There must be money involved. Anyway, so some people get a scholarship. Basically their education is paid for by someone else, but usually by the university or by a sponsor or something. You know I have a scholarship. You know my parents send me money. Take the goddamn money. Okay? That's very American. Take the goddamn money. It sounds like it from an episode of Suits. You know that American TV show? Suits TV show. You know the TV show Suits? It's on Netflix, I think, or something. Yeah, Meghan Markle was in Suits. Yes, Suits. Anyway, it's about lawyers. And every other word is goddamn. I want my goddamn name on the goddamn wall. And are you out of your goddamn mind? Everyone's goddamn this and god out of their goddamn minds. And I'm, goddamn, I'm wearing a goddamn suit and this, I don't know why everything's in goddamn black and white here. And goddamn it, Meghan, you're going to, what did you goddamn well say to the goddamn Queen? And so on and so forth. So very typically American stuff. Anyway, where was I? Here. Take it. You know my parents send me money. Take the goddamn money. I just stood there. I'd never had someone yell at me or shout at me while doing something nice before. I'm being really nice to you. Take this money. Thanks. When you noticed how stunned I was, if you're stunned, it's like you don't know how to react. You don't know. You sort of don't move. You can't do anything. Stunned. When you noticed how stunned I was, you softened your voice. You started speaking more softly. Please, it hurts me to see you starving yourself. Please take the money. For the first time ever, I talked back. Now, this doesn't mean this is the first time she ever responded, that she was just mute. She never spoke before. No, to talk back. I think in British English we'd say to answer back, and it means to kind of defend yourself. When someone is saying something against you, you kind of respond and defend yourself. That's what talk back means. It also means to just reply, but in this context, it means to sort of reply with defensiveness, or maybe to protect yourself. To argue a little bit. So, it hurts me to see you starving yourself. Please take the money. And then for the first time ever, I talked back. Why? Like, why does it hurt you? And you laughed at me. Because I love you, you idiot. Because I love you, you idiot. I took the money. You're damn right you took the money. You goddamn right you did. Sorry. I took the money, but snuck most of it back into your wallet that night when you were asleep. To sneak something in. To sneak. S-N-E-A-K. Sneak, snuck. Sneak. Okay, you can sneak somewhere, which means you go somewhere quietly without anybody noticing. Like a ninja. Sneak, sneak, sneak. I snuck into the kitchen in the middle of the night in order to eat something from the fridge. Okay? To sneak out of I snuck out of the house to go and, hang out with my friends. I snuck out through the window, something like that. You can also sneak something somewhere. So in this case, she snuck the money back into the wallet. Okay? She's like a ridiculously good, kind person, it seems. She accepted the money, but she actually snuck most of it back into the wallet that night when you were asleep. So she took the money, but then sort of like sneakily gave it back to him. For most of the time we dated, we never fought. Fought, obviously, fight is the verb. Fight, fought. For most of the time we dated, we never fought. Even when one of your friends tried to tell me you cheated on me. To cheat on someone means basically to go with another. In this case, she's with him, boyfriend, girlfriend, and she cheats on him, means she sleeps with someone else or goes with someone else, another guy. Right? So even when one of your friends tried to tell me you cheated on me, So they didn't even fight then. So who is this other friend? Probably some jealous person who's like, oh, they're the perfect couple. I'm gonna break up their perfect couple. The dream couple. I'm gonna burst their bubble and say, Tony, yeah, he's been cheating on you. The guy's name's Tony, I've just decided. Yeah, you know what? I saw Tony with someone else. I think you're going to need to have a conversation with Tony. What? Anyway, he tried to tell her that Tony was cheating on her. And she says, I know you hadn't. The friend was just a jerk. Another bit of American English, a jerk. It's just like what would be the equivalent of a jerk? Just like an idiot, and not someone who's not nice, and someone who's stupid. It's just a twit, an idiot. I'm trying to think of words that are not really rude. I think I can think of plenty of very rude words. Twat, although I wouldn't say the word twat. In American English, twat is a lot more offensive than it is in British English. In British English, it's not that bad, really. But, yeah, so be careful with that one. He was just an idiot. Let's go for idiot. I know you hadn't cheated on me. The friend was just an idiot, a jerk. When he tried to tell me, I just stared at him like this. Oh, yeah, I think Tony's been sleeping with someone else behind your back. And she just stared at him like this. Seriously? Didn't cry or yell or demand proof. Cry. What? What are you talking? What do you mean? Didn't cry or yell again like, what? Or demand proof. How do you know? I want proof. Show me the photos. She didn't do that. That freaked the friend out a bit. He was like, don't you believe me? Huh? And the friend's like, annoyed. This friend is a jerk. He kept trying to convince me. But I stayed so calm, he eventually gave up and admitted the truth. No, he is. Look, honestly, okay, it's not true. That's maybe what happened. Later, you told me you couldn't believe how amazing I was to trust you so much. Oh, it's sweet. What a sweet story. The truth was, I had no idea if it was the truth or not. I just didn't react because I knew if I did, it wouldn't change the outcome. Wow, incredible levels of wisdom from this person. And I learned that staying calm in situations like that gave me the power. Ooh, almost like a little bit, what's the word for it? Almost a little scary, like cold. You know? Like, almost cold-blooded. Like, I will stay calm. I will keep my emotions under control. Why? Because this gives me the power. Our marriage, too, had very few fights. Nice. If you didn't take out the trash like you said you would, I did it. How reasonable. How wonderfully reasonable. If you didn't take out the trash. More American English here. In the UK, we tend to say rubbish, not trash. Okay? Right. Taking out the trash seems to be something that causes a lot of problems in marriages. I don't know why this is. It's a flashpoint in many marriages, taking out the trash, taking out the rubbish. Not in this marriage. If you didn't take out the rubbish or the trash like you said you would, I did it. Everything's fine. And when you noticed I'd done your chores, you felt so bad that you'd do some of mine to make it up. Oh. When you noticed I'd done your chores, this is basically housework. Again, chores in American English? They definitely use it a lot in American English. But do we say chores in British English? Chores? Not so much. We tend to say housework. He says. There it is. Look, chores in British English. Everyday work around the house. Okay, well, look. We do have the word in British English, but we don't use it nearly as much as they do in American English. We tend to use housework. But chores is a nice word, stuff you've got to do around the house. When you noticed I'd done your chores, you felt so bad that you'd do some of mine to make it up. If you make it up to someone, it means you do something to kind of compensate them or to repair something. Like in this case, she did something for him. And so he feels like he should do something in return to compensate her for what she did. To make it up to him. Let me make it up to you. So it'd be like, oh, thanks for doing me that favour the other day. I really appreciate it. Look, let me make it up to you and I'll take you out for lunch. Something like that. If someone does something for you, then you need to make it up to them by doing something for them in return. So you felt so bad that you'd do some of mine to make it up. Oh, what a perfect marriage. When our children misbehaved, all right, behaved badly, I never raised my voice, like shouted, or screamed, or made a scene. If you raise your voice, don't make me raise my voice with you. Just to when your voice gets louder. Don't raise your voice to me. Or screamed. Okay, shout is just say things very loudly. Hello! Shout. Scream, it's got two meanings, I think. One meaning is just a noise. Ah! Like if you're in a horror film. Someone's coming after you with a screwdriver. Ah! Scream. But also you can scream like shout. Like, help! That also means scream. Scream for help. So scream can either mean ah, or it can mean shouting. Especially if you're shouting at a very high pitch. Okay. When our children misbehaved, I never raised my voice or screamed or made a scene. I just asked them what they did. What did you do? And eventually they'd cave. So to cave or to cave in means to crumble. Like there's a picture of a cave here, but imagine the cave crumbling, the roof of the cave giving way and it collapsing. So to cave in means to kind of collapse. So if a child is like, you're having a fight with a child and you say, what did you do? And the child just goes, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, I told a lie or something like that. To cave. To kind of collapse. When their position kind of collapses in the sense that they just admit that they're wrong or they stop arguing. They lose the argument. Our oldest child told me once it would be much less scary if I'd just shout at them like Dad did. So apparently her kind of cold-blooded approach was quite chilling, quite frightening. Like, what did you do? I don't, I will find you. I will hunt you down. Like a sort of, if Liam Neeson was in your family. I know if you've lied. I've got a particular set of skills. I figured I'd stay like I was. Okay, so she didn't change. Calm, quiet, a peacemaker, non-reactive. For the rest of my life. But you changed that. Emotional. You jerk. She's angry. When you died. Emotional. When you died, it was like that frozen mountain of emotional outbursts inside me melted all at once. So her emotional reserve was like a frozen mountain, and when he died, it melted and all the emotions came out. Nobody expected it when I started screaming and sobbing at the funeral. Sobbing means crying. Like that. My older brother tried to take me outside. Come outside. You're making a scene. And I punched him in the jaw. Drama. The jaw. This is your jaw. Well, it's not your jaw, that's my jaw. But you know what I mean. The jaw is the lower part of your mouth. The part that goes up and down. Right, your jaw. I punched him in the jaw. I apologise later, of course. I should hope so. You'd hardly recognize me now, I think. Meaning you wouldn't, if you saw me now, you wouldn't think I was the same person. Like, is that you? You'd hardly recognize me. You almost wouldn't be able to identify me. It's a lot harder for me to stare blankly now and take things. To stare blankly. Like that. If someone says, you know, excuse me, you took my parking space. Stare blankly and not argue. It's harder for me to stare blankly, meaning it's harder for her to keep her emotions in and just take things. The emotions come out. Because I keep remembering you saying, stand up for yourself. You deserve better, mi amor. Right. And you're not here anymore to stand up for me. To stand up for someone is to defend someone, to support someone. So if someone is being attacked, you would say, oi, excuse me, what are you doing? Don't leave her alone. I'm standing up for her. Or our kids. I don't know how to describe it exactly. What changed the moment you left this earth? But it's like I was blue one moment and red the next. Hard as ice before I melted into a hurricane. Can you melt into a hurricane? Don't know. Melt, you know, is when ice becomes water. Can you melt into a hurricane? I suppose so. I was a mess for a year or two, I think. A mess, like disorganized, no order. Everything was all over the place. Emotionally disorganized, out of control. Before I managed to get everything under control again. Even now, I'm not like I was, meaning I'm different. I'm still calm and rational, and I think before I speak. But if anything or anyone threatens our children or their happiness, I know I have to be the one to protect them with my particular set of skills. And as anyone who's gone mountain climbing knows, the serene, snow-covered peaks that look so tranquil from a distance. Serene means quiet and peaceful. Snow-covered, covered in snow. Peaks, the tops of the mountains. The serene, snow-covered peaks that look so tranquil. Tranquil and serene. Tranquil means quiet. Right, here we go. Tranquil, calm and peaceful. Right? Tranquility. And serene, calm and quiet. They're synonyms. There you go. Serene, tranquil. Where were we? These serene, snow-covered peaks that look so tranquil from a distance are the deadliest. There's a slightly menacing undertone to this. Don't mess with this woman, basically. She will find you, she will hunt you down, and she will kill you. There you go, that's the end of the story. All right, well, that's the end also of this. That's the end of this video. Thank you for paying attention all the way through that. I hope you learned some English from it. And as I said, you can find the story in. You can find the story by checking the link there in the description, and then you can read the story as well. And I do recommend you trying to say the story out loud, repeat it a few times. It's good practice. Reading out loud, just practicing, delivering the lines. It's very good practice. Thank you very much for watching this. Now, are you subscribed to my videos? If you're not, then subscribe. Don't forget to smash that like button as well. You don't have to smash the like button. You can just click it or tap it. No smashing or smacking or slapping necessary. But do subscribe to the channel, you know, because then you'll be able to see all my other videos when they arrive and all that sort of thing. Also, listen to my podcast. Luke's English Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. Also, I have an app which you could download free on your phone, the Luke's English Podcast app. There you go. And with the Luke's English Podcast app, you can get the entire episode archive, every single episode of this podcast, and also loads of app-only episodes in the categories section there. Let's have a look at that. App-only episodes. All of these episodes, which are only available in the app. Have you heard them? Would you like to listen to them? So just search the App Store for Luke's English Podcast app, and you'll be able to download it free. And that's how you can get all of those episodes. Okay. All right then. Thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I will speak to you again in some form. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. Bye, 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 bye.